Together. I'm Hannah.
I'm Kris.
And we
used to live together. Roomies, you might be wondering, there's something going on today. There's something in the air.
There's a vibe.
There's an energy.
New.
But you're not new.
You're not.
I'm not.
Heather's been here before.
I am. Oldie but goodie.
Yeah.
Hannah, give her an intro.
Oh my gosh. Well, shoot. Should have.
You're good on the fly.
Okay. This is the return.
The return.
Of our beloved.
A sequel, if you will.
A sequel of our Enneagram queen.
That's right.
Heather. She's back for part 2. You guys have been asking for it.
The fans have been clamoring.
They've been wanting
for part 2.
Yeah. And we left them hanging for a very long time.
Yeah.
They've been wondering about wings for months.
They've been drinking Red Bull because Red Bull gives you wings.
Yeah, they're like, what is next? What do I do in my life? And we thought it's about time we get her back in.
And here you are.
And here you are.
Well, thank you.
Thanks
so
for making
much.
time for us.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you for fitting us for you, our schedule. Thank you for being here.
Yeah.
Happy to be asked.
Yeah.
Honored.
Should we start with?
Yeah, go ahead. What's good, my dude?
Are you asking me?
What's good, my dude?
Okay. I had a great weekend.
Tell us about it.
I got to see Kendrick and SZA
in person
at SoFi.
At Taylor Swift Stadium.
At Taylor Swift Stadium.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Were you changed?
Yeah.
Were you transformed?
I was transformed. I've never been to a concert where the vibes were that high.
Oh.
Like, everybody was so nice. Everyone was having the time of their life. Everybody was dancing. Like, the security guards.
I hate when people are like,
I know.
when they're sitting.
Yeah.
And you're like, you're in our way. And
yeah.
like, it's a concert.
Like the ushers were dancing.
Yeah.
And they would like try to sneak up and like take videos to like the security. Like, everyone was just so
Tell
hyped.
me what everyone was wearing.
Oh my gosh, everyone looked so good.
Yeah.
It was very like Jersey heavy. I feel like a lot of people, it kind of could have been a Dodger game.
Okay. Oh, because you're in LA.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
There was a lot of Lakers, a lot of Dodgers. Lorenzo wore his LAFC.
I saw that. That looked
jersey.
cool. Yeah.
So yeah, a lot of jerseys, a lot of Adidas.
Were you
I
sporting?
got to show
Were you
off.
sporting?
I got up to show off my new girls.
Love
Okay.
it.
Oh, you got new ones?
Well, my
The green ones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it was so much fun, and everyone around us was so cool.
They were vibing. Everyone was
so
vibing.
Vibey.
Okay,
Yeah,
good.
just dancing. I don't know how you train yourself to have that breath control to rap for that long. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like how, like
you must do like
3 hours.
pull-ups.
Like I don't.
A lot of cardio. A lot of cardio.
And like you could tell he was really excited to be back in
Yeah.
his hometown.
Yeah.
Is he from?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is he? Oh.
I think that's why the energy was so high.
Yeah.
Hometown show.
Homecoming.
Oh, yeah.
And just everyone yelling A minor.
Oh man,
That
gosh.
I was just like, and then he's going to Toronto. Like he's going to Canada.
Oh.
So I'm like,
Drake's hometown.
that's gonna be crazy.
And he's going to make them all yell A minor too.
gonna be crazy.
No.
And it was just like, yeah, it was just a really good time. I did, I got my butt slapped by a girl.
Who? A rando?
El Rando.
Like in the bathroom or what?
Outside the bathroom.
That was Eric's first question as well. Did this
Outside
happen
the
in the bathroom?
Uh-huh.
So she was like, we were all just chatting. We were making friends with everybody around us.
Mm-hmm.
And then they
Like
started,
you're in line or what?
No, like we were like in our seats.
Oh, okay.
So they were in the row in front of us.
Okay.
And so we like snuck down to the 300 like standing
you
room.
did. Uh-huh.
Because our tickets were in the 500. We kept seeing all these TikToks that were like,
You can sneak down.
well, yeah, but also Kendrick didn't like pay for the big Oculus screen.
Oh.
So like if you're all the way in the top,
You can't
like
really see.
you can't really see.
Yeah.
So we
Aw.
got there early, and then they were saying the sound quality is really bad up there. So
Mm.
we got there early, so we got like the standing room.
On the like the
You know,
table.
like that
yeah,
ledge.
the tabletop.
Yeah.
So we were there, so we were like leaning on that, and so the people are in front of us. We were just like talking to them,
Uh-huh.
and then they started like rolling joints, and security was like, "You can't do that here." And so like they left, and she walked to us and was like, "I gotta go, but I'll be back." Gave me a hug and then gave me 2 taps.
Oh. Was she already a little?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I said,
Oh.
okay."
Were you feeling yourself after that?
I sure.
Did it feel like encouragement?
Yeah, I was
Because I feel like that's what sports
yeah,
is for
yeah,
encouragement.
like
so.
get out there. You
Good,
get,
good,
get
keep it up.
Yeah.
Good hustle.
I was like,
Okay.
yeah.
Wow. Did you guys partake of what they were doing?
No. No, mama.
No, you couldn't.
I was just drinking.
Yeah.
But I was good.
Yeah.
I was well behaved.
How was SZA?
Oh my god.
Was it?
Yeah.
I heard good things.
She's so good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's like stunning.
Yeah.
Her
Mhm.
voice is incredible. Like her mic was on. Her
Yeah.
mic was on.
Hot mic.
Yeah.
Hot mic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was really funny because we were seeing like all these TikToks of like guys like at the concert like falling in love with her. Like and they
Uh-huh.
were just like their mouths are open and then all the comments are all these girls like, no, scissors for the girls back.
Oh.
It was kind of sad though because because her sets were like interwoven
Uh-huh.
with
Mhm.
Kendrick's, but
Mhm.
when she would come out, everyone would sit down.
So
So
she's
it's-
more chill, no? Her
No,
music,
but I
or-
mean, just like stand up for her.
Oh.
I don't know.
Did you? Were you? You were
so
standing.
all the girl, like everyone, all the girls in the
Yeah.
section, but I was like everyone, or they would like go to like get drinks or go to, and I was like,
Aw.
yeah. So that was kind of a bummer. I don't know how it was like on the floor, and
Yeah, yeah.
all of
Sure,
that, but like
sure.
being up a little bit,
Right.
yeah.
They
And then
can't see
Kendrick
it.
would come back, and everyone would be
Rushing
back
back
in
in.
the
Yeah.
But yeah, I liked how they did it. They like it
Good
was
balance.
like interwoven with
Yeah.
each other, and they have so many songs together. Like that's how they would like.
Mhm.
He would like bring her
Do a
out. They would sing a
transition.
song.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
So it was. They did it really well. Like the way they
Wow.
and the dancers.
The
Oh,
backup dancers, were they killing?
So good.
Oh my gosh.
So good. Anyways, amazing.
Nice.
Love that.
Highly recommend.
Okay.
Love that.
What's good with you, my dude?
I took a recommendation from you. Have you ever heard of Harry Potter and the Cursed Child?
I have actually.
So AJ, Cassie, my cousin Lauren, and me, we all got kind of impromptu tickets
Mhm.
because they were doing
Cheap.
a twofer.
Yes, the
It was-
twofer.
Yeah, so it was very cheap, and we got orchestra seat. We were
Mhm.
very close. That's the closest I've ever been to the Pantages.
Pantages?
stage.
Yeah.
Love
And-
Pantages.
Boy, you were telling us that the production was good, but
Mhm.
when we were there, from the opening, like the opening transition where
Right.
they changed into Hogwarts, I was
Yeah.
like, whoa.
Isn't
Like
it
I'm
crazy?
awake. You have my
Yeah.
attention, you know?
Yeah.
So I don't know who their special effects people are, but
Mhm.
I was blown away.
It's like how?
yeah, AJ and I were like the whole time we're like, whoa.
It's like
So-
because normally you can see like, oh, I see them hooked up to
Yeah.
a heart.
Yeah.
You can't see anything.
It was like just a legit magic show.
Yeah.
Like,
Love that.
I was like, this is awesome.
Yeah.
when they go back in time and they do the
Yes.
I was like, am I having like a seizure? What what is
The-
happening?
the-
Yeah. I was like, how are they doing that?
I know.
So very good
And
if you're
Voldemort Day.
I know. Yeah, I don't want to spoil anything, but man, if you get a chance to see it on
Did
stage,
you cry?
I cried. Yeah, towards the end
Okay.
when they had to witness the thing.
Yeah.
So I was like,
I
oh
was a
no,
mess.
like I'm crying, I'm laughing, I'm enjoying the show.
Yeah.
Great show.
Yeah.
Stories, whatever. Stories
Yeah.
okay, but like just if you're looking for just some good special effects, live special effects, my goodness.
What did you think about the two main male leads?
Oh, this was a discussion afterwards. So
Okay.
we're like, were they? Are they? I don't know. I thought maybe they were just trying to portray male friendship.
But the line about the palace at the
I
end.
know. That's what we.
Don't listen to him.
Okay.
He doesn't know what he's talking
AJ
about.
I don't
vetoes.
know.
Yeah.
Yes.
Maybe I don't know.
It's like, did we all watch the same thing?
Yeah.
It's like, come on.
It was only that one palace line that I
No,
was
it
like,
was the
Man,
whole
tension, the
time.
whole
The
show
whole time.
from the beginning.
Do you hug your bros like that?
do they hug?
Yeah.
See, that's what I'm saying. He
they
doesn't
be
know.
running to
He's
each
not a
other.
good. He doesn't know.
No.
I don't know. I would love to hug my bros.
If you're a bro of Kris, give him a hug.
Just
next
give
time
him
you see
more
him.
hugs.
Give him a
Okay.
hug.
Yeah, but I don't. AJ says yes, and I
Okay.
say maybe.
Well, I'm glad I wasn't alone in the feelings.
No.
It was good.
Yeah.
And then, before that, before we went to the show, we ate. I want to take you to this restaurant. It's called All Time in
Oh
LA.
yeah.
Have you been
Cassie-
there?
No, Cassie was telling me about
Yeah,
it.
dude, so fire. Like everything. First of all, we ordered a lot. Everything is shareable. We ordered like 10 things off the menu,
Mhm.
and I think you and Lorenzo would really, everyone really, you
Fun.
guys. So, let's go.
Okay.
All time.
All time.
Keep that in mind.
All time low.
All time
All
high.
time high. Yeah.
What's good, my dude?
I have 3 days till the end of this semester.
Woo! Wait, I'm surprised you're not done already.
I know. So for the listeners, I'm a community college counselor, and our semester is ending after Memorial Day, which is very weird. It's this year and next year. It's because of the way our winter intersession is. We have to have 4 weeks in January, and because where the first lies, blah, blah, blah. Doesn't matter. Either way, I have 3 days till freedom.
Right.
So for all of the
Excited for you.
educators out there just trying to make it to the end of the semester,
Yeah.
we see you.
Yeah.
We feel
Hey,
you.
give it up for summer
Yes.
break.
Oh my gosh,
Summer
cannot
break.
wait. So I've got 3 days. Count it down. I feel like a kid
Yeah.
during summer. I'm
No,
like, let me X off my
100%.
calendar.
Wait, should
Yes.
we celebrate when you're done?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Friday. Let's make it
Oh,
happen.
Friday's your last day.
Thursday's my
Thursday's
last
your
day.
last day.
Mhm.
Okay.
Thursday's my last
Wow.
day.
So by the time this episode drops, you'll be on summer
Oh,
break.
You guys can all think of me.
Yeah.
When you're listening,
Heather will
when
be
you're
drunk
watching.
as a skunk.
I will be, yes. I won't know my name, nor yours.
Drunk as a skunk, high as a kite.
That's right. All the things.
All the things. Love that for you.
Yay.
Should we jump into
We
it?
should jump right in.
This is-
Sorry to make you work on. I mean,
Yeah,
I feel like
sorry.
we're making you teach another lesson so
Truly.
close to summer.
Yeah, I
That's
know.
okay.
But we're ready.
We're taking notes, taking mental notes.
Mental notes?
Yeah.
I was like, I don't see any paper. No, I'm kidding.
We're ready to jump back into part 2 of
Enneagram.
part 2 of Enneagram.
Here we go.
Take it away, Heather.
All right. So for the listeners out there, if you are looking for a basic introduction to the Enneagram, we will not be doing that today. However, there is a previous episode in January that you
Listen
can go
to
back
our-
Should we
and
link that in our
listen.
show notes?
Link in the
Ooh,
show
I
notes.
think that's
yeah,
a good
yeah,
idea.
yeah.
I love
Okay.
saying that.
Okay.
Definitely,
I love saying
definitely
that.
do
Thank
that.
you, Alex.
Because we're basically picking up where we left off.
Okay.
So you will need to have kind of that basic foundation. I'm going to give you all a little quick reminder
A
as we're going
recap.
through each one.
Okay.
Yeah, so we'll go through each one. But today we're talking about Enneagram wings. So to remind everybody, Enneagram's basically like a personality theory, right? That gets into not just like who you are and your behaviors, but the deep stuff of like why you do what you do. Right. And so we went
Scary.
over, I know, right? We did that in the first
Yeah,
one. So it's
yeah.
a little, it's a little bit deeper than
Yeah.
other personality assessments,
Mhm.
right? And so everybody, of course, has their main core Enneagram type, your main type, okay? However, you will see that you tend to also have connection to the Enneagram types on either side of your type. So if you're an Enneagram 1, you may have what we call wings or characteristics of 2 or 9. So the ones on either side. If you're an Enneagram 2, it would be 1 or 3. Enneagram 3, it would be 2 or 4. You'll get the gist as we go through. But to keep in mind, like, it's just the idea that you pull in characteristics from these types. If you've ever done a quiz, it doesn't mean that this is like your second highest number necessarily. I'm sure we'll do a part 3 where we talk about stress and growth,
Yeah.
but
Oh,
every
yeah, we will.
yeah, so essentially every Enneagram type also goes to another type when they're very stressed, and they go to a different type when they're in a growth period. So that's not what we're talking about today. We're talking about your neighbors and how you tend to start to pull different characteristics from your neighboring
And you can
Enneagram
pull from
type.
both?
No,
No.
not typically.
Oh.
Not typically.
You're pulling from one
You
or the
tend
other.
To, you
Okay.
tend to lead one way or the other.
Okay.
And you'll get the gist as kind of as
Got
we
it.
go through.
Okay.
Okay. So you can be influenced by both of the wings, the numbers on each side, but you do tend to have a dominant wing
Okay.
where you do identify a lot more.
Got it.
And I think I would love to do. So I'm going to give a little brief of what the type is. We're going to go over the wings, and they have different names as well. But you remember how in the last episode, we were like, I kind of hate this name.
Yeah.
I kind of hate this name.
Yes.
yeah.
I'd love for us to maybe try to think if there's one that you're like, I hate that name.
Think
Especially,
of a better one.
let's think of a better one. I just think that'll be fun, a little bit
Okay,
creative
I'm
for us.
in.
I think we can
Rebranding.
rename. We
Not
can
us rebranding Enneagram.
Yeah, I just think that sometimes, especially if it's a type that like you know someone, and you're like, that name does not really fit, or
Yeah.
it's yours, and you're like, I hate that name
Yeah,
for me
yeah,
too.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that we should try to rename it.
I love
because I
it.
think it just makes it a little more personal.
I love it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I love
Yes,
it.
let's
Are
do
we
it.
ready?
I'm ready.
Yes.
You set?
I'm
Okay.
ready.
So reminder, and we're going to start with Enneagram 1.
Mhm.
So that is the first one, and there's 9 different types we're going to go over. So the Enneagram 1, the actual name for this one is the perfectionist or the reformer.
Mhm.
These folks tend to really be focused on doing what is right, doing what is just, doing the right thing. They like to live a life of doing the right thing. They tend to think that there's a right or wrong. Okay.
And you're a 1.
I am. Oh, you guys, I'm such a 1. Eric is nodding vigorously,
yeah.
right? But actually something I don't have is Enneagram 1s tend to be very big rule followers.
You're not a
Not
rule
this
follower?
gal. Not this gal. I love rules that make sense and
Uh-huh.
like benefit the greater good. But
Right.
like if it's a bullshit rule, can I say
Yeah.
bullshit?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
If it's a
please.
bullshit rule.
Oh,
not
you
following.
love to be a nasty girl. Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
just-
yeah.
I'm just not going to follow like an arbitrary rule
Right.
for no reason. So, but Enneagram 1 does tend to be.
So since this is yours, do you like those names?
Well, we're going to pick the wings. Let's
Oh,
rename
okay.
the wings.
Got it. Okay,
So,
go for it.
I don't mind. I think the perfectionist is pretty accurate
Okay.
because you can imagine if you're always trying to live your life in a way that like, well, I'm trying to do the right thing.
Got it.
You are trying to do that. I think the reformer piece definitely lends itself well because you are trying to reform, very justice oriented, very,
Uh-huh.
again, doing what's right and what's good. People tend to be enthusiastic and that sort of thing. So the wings for this are either going to be 9, so which is called the idealist. So a 1 with a wing 9 is called the idealist. So these people tend to be a little more gentle, a little more soft spoken, which you're looking at me going, that's not Heather. Again, a little more conflict avoidant on this part. They tend to be very rational, very fair, because remember, 9 is the peacemaker, right? So they're bringing in those elements. So even though they want to do what's just and what's right, they want to do it in a gentle way. However, they do tend to be a little bit more on the stubborn side because 9s can be a little bit more stubborn in that they're conflict avoidant and they're really going to avoid that conflict. You know what I mean?
Yes, we will.
Yeah.
Yes, yes, yes. So yes, just like yes. So the idealist is a 1 with a wing 9.
Okay.
A 1 with a wing 2. So remember, the 2 is like the giver or the helper, right? So the 1 wing 2 name is called the advocate. So this is mine.
Yeah.
More focused on relationships, definitely more in problem solving mode, more critical of themselves than the other wing. So like very much into the details of things, more in tune with what others need, and they tend to be a little bit more empathetic. Because the 9 wing, again, is more conflict avoidant, it's very different than the 2 wing where people are really seeing people and willing to dive in and get into it. Okay.
Not avoiding conflict.
Yeah, definitely not. If anybody knows me, I am literally the opposite of conflict avoidant. You can't have a non-direct conversation with me.
Right.
Good luck to you if you'd like to try. But yeah. So those are the 2. So the idealist or the advocate. These 2 don't bother me.
I kind of like the advocate. Yeah.
Yeah, these 2 don't bother me as
Yeah.
much. So they've also been called the optimist. So the 1 with the wing 9 is also known as the optimist, which I like.
Yeah.
Or the wing 2 is also the activist. So the advocate
Oh,
or the
yeah.
activist.
yeah. Those I like
These
those.
2 don't bug me too much.
Yeah.
We're good with these?
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
We'll allow it.
Yeah. But I do think you see how, like, when we're just talking about Enneagram 1 and how rigid it sounds, when you start to get the wings, it starts to create a more full person.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
For sure.
And that's what you're going to see with the wings is we've been very kind of like, it's this, not that in our first episode. And this one really does bring in different
Rounds it out a little bit.
It kind of does
Uh-huh.
because no one's just one dimensional,
Of course.
right? So there's always
And if
these
you
different
are,
components.
why?
I know, huh? If you are, you're probably just exhausted.
I'm there.
I know, right? All right, so our Enneagram 2s, again.
Hello.
Yes, the giver, the helper. So these folks always try to lend a helping hand. They're very caring, they're very warm, they're very interpersonal, they're very creative. You tend to have very meaningful relationships with the 2 because they tend to be very engaged to you and your needs, okay? But they are very nurturing, warm folks, okay? So the wings, so we have 2s that have a wing 1, so they have that more rigid side to them, and they are called the servant. So they're very
The
organized.
servant. Uh-oh.
So we hate that name.
Yeah.
Got it. They do tend to be a little bit more organized and a little bit more controlled because they have the oneness to them, right? And they feel like their duty is to help others. And they can be a little bit more quiet and reserved because they are focusing on like what someone else is saying or what someone else wants or what someone else is doing, okay? But they have that diligent nature or that perfectionist quality of a 1. Yeah. So that's the
Yeah,
that's
Hannah
the
loves servant leadership, actually.
Absolutely.
Love
Women,
it.
all women do.
All women.
Yeah,
do.
no.
So, or we have our 2s wing 3s, which is called the host.
Oh, I like
Okay?
that.
Or hostess, I
Uh-huh.
suppose.
Yeah.
Very social. These folks are very outgoing. They're very focused on achievement. So that's a very 3 quality, right? The achieving part is very important. And again, it's not just actually achieving, it's how people perceive that you're achieving. So that's a very 3 Enneagram 3 thing. Very personable, really want to be accepted by others. Okay. So a 2 by nature is always very focused on other people and the people around them. But when Enneagram 3 is also aware of how people are taking them in as well. If they're being accepted, if they're being, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like welcomed in. Does that sound right?
Yes.
Does that sound very
100%.
accurate?
Yes.
Okay. So we're good with the host, right?
I like
we
that.
like that?
The hostess.
Uh-huh.
We like that. Okay.
Hostess with the
servant,
mostess.
that's
Wait, so the
gross.
2 wing 3 is different from the 2 wing 1 in that the wing 1 is more like submissive in a way, or what were you saying?
No, not necessarily that. They're just very detail oriented, very organized, very self-critical, very critical of others.
okay.
They have
I
those
see.
1 tendencies. I don't
Okay.
mean to make it sound like all 1s are like negative. It's just they tend to be more critical because again, you're living on this standard of like I want to do what's right. And so they have those qualities. And you can imagine a 2 naturally is called the helper or the giver, right? That's very focused on others. A 3 wing is still very focused on others, but has that aspect of how are you perceiving me?
Yes.
Whereas
Okay,
that
I
1
see.
wing they feel like it's their duty to help others because it's
Right.
the right thing to do,
Got
which is a
it.
very 1 quality.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. So
Okay.
what would you call not servant?
I know, not servant.
So the other name for it is the companion.
That's better.
That's cute.
Do we like that? No, she doesn't like that. Okay.
better.
I like that better than servant.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. That's how I feel about the
Companion.
giver one. I'm just like,
I
oh,
know.
right?
Yeah.
I know.
I'm a giver.
I know. What's a better name? Can we think of a better name?
Oh.
Aw, the
Well,
Well, Eric,
Samwise
aren't you a
Gamgee.
2 wing 1? Okay.
Okay, I like the Samwise.
The
That's
Samwise.
cute.
Samwise.
How
I
about
love
the
that.
Eric?
The Eric.
The Eric.
Yes, I will say I really love it because I am a 1 wing 2. Eric is a 2 wing 1. So we actually really get like the good and bad of each other because we have each other's good and bad qualities. I know you
That's
have
how
that.
me and Lorenzo are. Yeah, he's
Mhm.
3 wing 2. I'm 2 wing 3.
Love that for you. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we can find a partner who gets you, you know?
Yeah.
Add that to your
I will add that to
your hinge.
Oh, yes.
You got to be a. Wait, I'm a 9. I think I'm a wing 1. Well, I don't know. We'll get to
We'll
it.
get
We'll find
there.
out. Okay, let's keep going.
We'll get to it. We'll get to it. You'll get to tell us,
Yeah.
right? Okay, I like that. So next is our Enneagram 3, which is the achiever or the performer. Okay, so these folks are always seeking out admiration for others. They do carry a burden of always being aware of how they're being perceived, okay? But they're very adaptable. They're very productive because they're in tune to this. They do have some superpowers like in the workplace because they're very aware of how they're being perceived all the time.
Lorenzo.
Yeah, focused on achieving. They are very
Yeah.
much focused on achieving. But again, it's not just their perception of their achieving. I want to make sure others feel like I'm achieving as well, that they can see the success as well. So it's a different burden, I guess, for an Enneagram 3. But these people tend to be very popular because they can adapt for you. Do you know what I mean? Like they can be what you need when you need it, which is a really neat quality for them. Okay, so our Enneagram 3 wing 2 folks, the Enchanter.
Oh, we're keeping that name.
That's long.
Or
Yeah.
the Enchantress.
Yeah.
Love
You
it.
know, gotta
It's
love
locked
that.
in. Yeah.
That's locked in.
Because imagine, so they have this Enneagram 3, like very aware of how they're being perceived. They are a performer in that way. They are trying to achieve and make sure other people are happy with their performance. But with that wing 2, they're also so giving and so caring. So they're really giving of their time. They're really giving of their energy. They're really giving to the people that are around them. So let me tell you, I think a 3 Enneagram 2 is probably like a great friend to have, like really show up for their
That's
people.
what Lorenzo is, you said?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They do tend to be more social than the 3 wing 4, which we'll get to in a second. But they're very adaptable. They tend to be a bit competitive though.
Uh-huh.
And these folks really live with a fear of failure. All 3s do, but that 3 Enneagram 2 really has that burden because they're also trying to serve the people around them. So the idea that they would fail, it's not just failing themselves, it's also like failing the people that they love the most or care about the most. So it's interesting. But yeah, 3 wing 2 folks, Shout out
Hey,
to the 3-wing twos.
enchant me,
Enchant-
please.
Yeah,
Enchant me.
Please.
Yes, I'm ready to be enchanted. Then we've got our 3-wing 4 folks, and they're called the expert.
Oh.
These folks tend to be very creative. So to remind you, our 4s are very creative,
Yes.
individualists. These are our artists. These are our creatives.
Okay.
They're very
Yeah.
in their feels, right? They're very in tune with their emotions and their feelings. So you could imagine, again, Enneagram 3, that performer, they could be disconnected from their emotions because they're always looking to get that acknowledgement from others. They could be a little disconnected. But the 3-wing 4, they're very in tune with their feelings because they have that Enneagram 4 wing, right? Definitely more sensitive. They tend to have like really good specific skill set. Even though they're still adaptable like a 3, they may have like a really creative focus that they're really great at.
Yeah.
Okay. So the enchanter we're keeping.
Yeah.
For sure.
Expert sounds pretty
I
good
kinda
too.
like that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the other name for the expert is the professional.
Oh, that sounds boring.
not.
It does.
Professional.
professional.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm the professional.
Well, when I think of the professional, do you guys remember the movie that was The Hitman called The Professional? That's what I think
Yeah.
of. So I was like, I don't think that's what we're talking
No.
about. These people are not
Not an
gonna,
assassin.
they're not going to put the hit out on you. Okay. So not too bad. We'll keep that.
Yeah.
We'll
Yeah,
keep the
yeah, yeah.
expert. Okay. So here's our Enneagram 4. They're called the individualist or the romantic.
Yeah.
Yes, very authentic people, very self-aware, very creative, very sensitive, very introspective. These are like, I feel like the true artists of the world, like in their soul, you know? They do feel very much like I am different, which is great because they are very creative and be able to come up with things that not everybody else can. However, they'd feel that burden of like, no one understands me. Like I'm very different. Like I can't always be accepted in that way.
Yeah.
But these people love to focus on really deep connections with people because they are really in touch with their emotions. They are in it. So the 4-wing 3 is called the aristocrat. Oh.
So elitist.
Oh.
Why the aristocrat?
I know. Well,
I love that movie.
Not the aristocats.
so if you think this gives me like old money vibes.
Yeah.
Because when you think of when I think of really old money, I think of people who like used it for philanthropy, right? A lot of our big art collections, a lot of our big parks in the world were created by
Philanthropists.
really rich people
Yeah.
who had a love of creativity and wanted to share it with the world. Let the peasants have some. Do you know
gosh,
what I mean?
hate that.
So again, they're very focused on appearances because they have that Enneagram 3 aspect to them. So
Right.
they're very aware of how their creativity is perceived by others. So it's not just genuine to them because they're aware of how others are perceiving it or accepting it as well. So again, a little bit of a different burden, but they are very more goal oriented. Because you can imagine, think of your most creative person. They can be dreamers,
Yeah.
right? So the Enneagram 3 keeps them very much like goal-oriented, focused on still a success. It might be a more creative version of success
Sure.
than some of the rest of us,
Right.
but it's still like success-driven, okay? But they tend to be a little bit more outgoing, but they can get stuck with comparing themselves to others, especially others in their niche, if that makes sense. So, but they have that success drive,
Yeah.
okay? So the 4 Enneagram wing 5 is called the Bohemian.
That sounds fun.
We like the Bohemian. Also, AKA the free spirit. Okay. So again, when you think of like that artistic burden, these people are a little more quiet. They are a little bit more withdrawn. Okay. They are a little prone to having big emotions and not outwardly sharing them as
This
much.
reminds me of, have you seen Inside Out 2 with
Yes.
ennui? That's what it reminds me of.
Oh, yes.
Right?
I think 4s in general are ennui.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yes.
100%.
Okay.
But they also tend to be a little bit more independent because you can imagine having that Enneagram 3 wing, you are very dependent on like what others think about you or, you know, how they're receiving your stuff. But they're definitely more mind processors, more in the mind. Okay.
Okay.
So the aristocrat, which you guys did not seem to like.
No.
Okay. So what do we?
Something else.
Let's name it. Let's think of something else.
Because they're dreamers, but they're
Yep.
also success driven.
Yes, they
Yeah.
are.
So I don't know. Gosh, that's tough.
I know.
Not the aristocrat though. That sounds so
The Bill
elitists.
Gates.
What about the philanthropist? Is that
Oh,
could
I
that
like
be
that. I like that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because
the
that
more
has
the
a more like
philanthropist.
inclusive kind
Okay.
of
Yeah,
you know.
yeah.
We're
vibe.
making it up, so I
Yeah.
think it's whatever
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
want,
I like
right?
that,
I
yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
Okay. I like the idea of taking something that gives you a little bit of a cringe and like
Yeah.
making it your
Yes,
own.
Yes.
Fair enough.
Okay.
All right, moving
I
through.
love. I wish everyone could see these little.
I
The
know.
graphics.
So again, I'm an educator, folks. I am a professor. I teach, so I have a full PowerPoint whenever I come
It's so
because
We love
that's
to
how I
see
do. I
it,
do workshops,
yes.
so I love to see it. So she's getting to see the
The
visuals on her
cutest little
side.
graphic.
Yes, they are. So our Enneagram type 5 is the investigator or the observer. So if we remember our activity for the first one, this is where we had Sherlock Holmes,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
So these folks are very curious, very insightful, very knowledgeable. They like to be seen as capable and competent, very self-reliant. They tend to be more reserved. So that's where we saw that in the 4-wing 5 as well. Very decisive. They can be assertive, but they really like to think of themselves as curious, finding the truth, right? Like
So
they want
like
to get
cerebral?
down to it. Yes.
Okay.
For sure.
Got it.
For sure. So if we combined that with a wing 4, which is our
dreamer.
dreamer, our romantic, our emotional
artist.
side. So this is the philosopher.
Oh, I can
Okay.
see that. I like that.
The philosopher. They tend to be, of course, more sensitive, right? Because if you think of somebody who's very curious and truth focused and scientific,
Pensive.
right?
Yeah,
You don't always think of them as sensitive, right? Sometimes they can be seen as cold, but if they have that wing 4, they are definitely more in touch with their feels, and more in tune with their emotions. So, but they still do doubt things until they're proven. They're like, show me the facts. Show me the data. That's great that you have an opinion about that. Your opinion actually does not matter unless it has something to back it up, right? And they're
I wish I was more like that.
I know. They're definitely more creative, more reflective,
Okay.
more likely. If I think like the most generic way I could say this is like there's a difference between the scientist who's just in for the science, and then there's the one who like journals about what they find. You know what I mean? What it means for mankind. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that would be this wing 4.
Okay.
Okay. Now wing 6 is called the problem solver.
Okay.
I think we can find something a little more concise.
A little bit more
I like
pizzazz.
problems.
It's just
Well,
Sounds
I
boring.
think you're gonna hate the other name
no.
for it.
Uh-oh.
The troubleshooter.
Oh, no. What is this, Windows?
Hello, corporate vibes, right?
Windows operating system. Troubleshooter.
So our 5-wing 6, they are seeking security and stability. So not only are they scientific minded, truth focused, curious, but they also like want safety, security, stability, things to make sense. Okay. So they're definitely a little bit more independent than a 4 because a 4 is very into their emotions, right? But the researchers side of them is always trying to like solve a problem, right? And because they're seeking that security, that stability, something that not just makes sense and is truth, but also creates something that feels safe.
Okay.
Okay.
Maybe like the researcher.
The critical thinker.
No, that's too long.
The solutionist.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
The solutionist. I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. I don't know if that's a word, but I love
is
it.
now.
It is now.
It is now.
Yeah.
I
It
like
is a
that.
And I'm pretty
Chrisism.
sure Coldplay does a song called The Solutionist.
Then there you go.
No.
I think it's the scientist.
Oh.
It was a joke, AJ. Gosh. Moving on.
Work on your delivery.
We need a bump. Is
Yeah,
that what we're
yeah.
saying? Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. All right, so moving through. So our Enneagram 6, well, this is one we didn't really love the name of. So this overall, this type is called the skeptic
Oh yeah.
or the loyalist,
Yeah,
which
yeah,
I just feel like sounds so critical in general. So we'll see what the wing names
Yeah.
are.
Okay.
But again, they're very much seeking safety and security. They're very practical. They're very committed. I feel like every doomsday prepper that exists has a 6 somewhere in their stuff, either as a wing or as their main, right? But they are very caring and friendly and trustworthy folks. But they are really focused on bringing people together and having community, but in a way that makes sense and that everybody's safe, right? So, but they can be more open and relaxed when they're in an environment where they're comfortable. Okay, so again, these folks really, if they know you, and if they don't, they don't, you know.
Oh, no.
But they are always thinking of the worst case scenario. They're always thinking what could go wrong. So they do have, you can see how that wing would go to that problem solving for the
Right.
solutionist, right?
Yeah.
Because they're always thinking like, you know, they know where all the exits are. They,
Yeah.
you know, always have that sort of thing. So the 6 Enneagram 5 wing is called the defender.
Ooh,
I
The
like that.
defender. Because they fight for what they believe in,
Yeah.
and they are very outspoken, but these folks are organized, okay, and very self-controlled, because that's part of their 6, but it's also part of the 5. So they blend really well together. They do have very strong values, very strong beliefs, but they can isolate themselves more. Even though they are more outspoken about things, that doesn't always mean that it's perceived as welcoming, okay? Because you can imagine if you're thinking about everything that could go wrong in a scenario, right? If you're literally thinking about that and you're trying to create safety and stability, you probably would be sounding the alarm quite a bit.
Yeah.
And some people are not going to love that.
Yeah.
Sure.
Do you know what I
Like
mean?
crying
Yeah.
wolf all the time?
Well, and it's not necessarily crying wolf. They're being prepared.
Oh,
Yeah.
right, right,
And
right.
it's like the idea of like, I'd rather always have a plan B and never need to use
Sure,
it.
sure.
But yes, I think you're right, Kris. I think that it could be perceived that way.
Yeah.
People are like, you're always talking about what could go wrong. None of
Uh-huh.
this stuff goes wrong, dude. Just chill out,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
We're just going to a picnic.
Yeah, but you can imagine, but so the idea of it being the defender is because it comes from a place of wanting to
Yeah.
keep safe those they care about.
Of course.
You know?
Yeah. Comes from a good
So,
place.
It comes from a good place. Yeah. Again, you can hear how much the Enneagram, there's positives and, you know, burdens
Sure.
for like each
Yeah.
one of these different types.
Yeah.
Okay, but our 6 Enneagram 7 folks, they're called the buddy.
The buddy?
The buddy.
Like Buddy the Elf?
Like Buddy the Elf.
I'm okay with that.
That's kind of cute.
Hey, buddy.
Hey, buddy. So our 7s, which we'll get into next, but these are our party people. Like these are like
Oh.
always the most popular people in the room. So the 6, who's creating safety and security
Uh-huh.
and checking all the exits, has this more fun, interactive, like outgoing side. So
Uh-huh.
these are going to be the folks that are a little bit more focused on their actual relationships with people.
Okay.
And they're very loyal, very steady, because again, they are stability, like the epitome of stability. So they're prepared for anything, but they enjoy making new friends and like expanding their circle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh.
I like that.
So do we
The
like the
buddy.
buddy?
I like
I would
the
love to have
buddy.
a buddy.
The other name for it is the confident.
Oh, buddy.
The confidant?
No, the confident.
The confident?
Like I am confident. Yeah.
Oh, no, I like the buddy better.
We like the buddy.
The buddy.
We the buddy. Love it. All right, so as I mentioned, our Enneagram 7 folks, I call them the party people, but their real name is the enthusiast or the adventurer.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wait, 8 or 7?
7.
7.
So
okay.
this is 7.
7, okay.
So they seek out happiness and satisfaction. They are very energetic. They're always the most popular person in the room. Like these people they love fun. They absolutely love fun. They are spontaneous. They are playful.
Like a golden retriever.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. I mean, somewhat. Yeah. I think it's interesting because they're always focused on something that's new and exciting.
Uh-huh.
When you're just like, yeah, but what about? They're like, no. We're not going to what about, right? We're not going to what about. We always want to be focused on the new and
Yeah.
exciting.
Yeah.
So they, they really much are like looking at the bright side of everything because they're very focused on having fun.
What's their name again?
The enthusiast
The enthusiast.
or the adventurer,
Okay.
is the main type.
I see.
Okay, 7s are a good time. Man.
Yeah.
Just fun fact for us 1s carrying burdens, we go to 7 in strength. So
Oh,
when we're really healthy, we are
okay.
also a lot of fun.
All
So
right.
and
I
again,
can't
another
wait to
Yeah.
get
another
that
strength.
one.
I know that
know.
we'll dig a little deeper
Yeah.
in
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
strengths and yes, and growth.
Okay.
Okay, so our 7 folks with an Enneagram 6 is called the Pathfinder.
Oh.
I like
The
that.
Pathfinder.
I think it's a Nissan Pathfinder. But good, Hannah. Good.
There you go. Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Why not? We can work on giving them all car names
Yeah.
later. But think about it. These people are very fun. They love to experience new things. That's their 7 vibe. But it comes with being committed to their people and being a little bit more responsible. Because again, 6 is safety and stability, right? So they have that idea of not just like being reckless, because 7s typically have like the worst FOMO known to man. Like they are always wanting, they never want to miss anything.
Interesting.
Oh.
Okay.
And so it can be seen as a little bit reckless sometimes
Yeah.
because
Sure.
they're always chasing fun and
Yeah.
excitement, right? And so if you have that wing 6, it does bring a little bit of balance.
Kind of grounds you a little
It
bit.
kind of grounds you a
Uh-huh.
little bit.
Okay.
So they are searching for joy, but they tend to be a little bit more reserved, but they are very focused on their people and making sure they're good. And so it just brings a little bit more balance.
Okay.
Okay. Then we've got our 7 Enneagram wing 8.
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay. And this is called, I don't love this one, the opportunist.
It sounds sleazy.
Yeah.
It's giving used car salesman.
Yeah. Yeah. So these folks tend to be a little bit more decisive and more direct. Whereas a 7, you can imagine if you're always chasing a good time, not that you wouldn't be direct, but an 8 wing, like you do tend to say things a little bit more directly, which doesn't always in line with having a good time, right? They're a little less concerned about what people think. Very confident, but they can have a little bit more of that intense 8 energy, and they're very determined. So these people are determined to have a good time and very protective of their folks. So you can imagine, I think that the misconception about 7 wing 8s is that it can seem a little manipulative because you're trying to get, like, you're trying to protect your people and still have fun and have it be what you want it to be. And so I think it can be seen just as a little manipulative. I know that's a loaded word.
Controlling.
Sure.
Yeah.
You're just trying to make sure everyone's having a good time and you're doing what you can
Yeah.
to make that happen, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I think manipulative, just the word, gets a really bad rap.
Yeah.
Because I feel like every single person who cares about something is reacting in a way to get it to be what they want it to be, right? And that is
Oh,
just the
that's
nature of
true.
being manipulative,
Yeah.
right?
That's true.
Is trying to have, control of a situation or trying to direct it. So I don't mean that in a bad way. I
Yeah.
just mean, because again, they're always chasing the fun. They want everyone to have a good time, but they're going to take care of their people. Like, it's just an interesting balance for this one.
Yeah.
So I don't love the
Me
opportunist.
neither.
But again, they are a little bit, so they are still the party person, but they're a little bit more direct, concerned what people think of them. They are very confident.
Maybe like the captain.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're driving a little bit
Yeah.
more because they're a little more focused and organized than just
Yeah.
like a party goer.
Right, because I feel
Yeah.
like
Okay.
when you're like the captain of a vessel, you want to
Yes.
be
You're good at this,
You're
Kris.
very good at this.
you want to like protect your crew,
Yes.
but also you're staying
Yeah.
the course.
Yes,
so
100%.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
love that.
I think
Okay.
we can keep the other one as a Jeep Pathfinder.
Okay,
Yeah.
the Jeep Pathfinder.
Jeep.
The Jeep. The Jeep. So the captain gets a boat and somebody's just got a Jeep.
Wait, AJ, aren't you a 7? Or
Oh,
Oh,
100%.
yeah, what were you?
Yeah.
what's your wing? What?
I think it's more 6, 7 wing
Yeah.
6.
A little more stability, a little more safety seeking,
Yeah. I
caring
think
about
so.
your people, being more responsible type.
Yeah, because I was like, the 8 doesn't sound right.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't imagine that is. So the 8 in
No.
general, since we're pivoting anyway, is the challenger or the protector.
Okay.
These people, like 8s,
Are
Man.
they aggressive?
everyone perceives them as aggressive or intense,
But
and that is
really-
in no way their intention at all.
Sure.
Remember, these folks have like a really unique, I know we're not talking about the triads, but they have a really unique relationship with anger. So what I love, so my
Oh.
co-chair is an 8, so this is my partner in my department, and she's an 8. And what I love is she has this such unique relationship with anger that it doesn't bother her. It's just another emotion, like it doesn't phase her. So I can
Okay.
come in raging, and she can just talk to me about it because she doesn't have a reaction to me being
Oh.
upset like a normal person would be
Yeah.
like, oh, you're mad, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? She doesn't, because it's just another emotion to her.
Wow.
Enneagram
that like?
8s are my
I know.
favorites. I gotta tell you, because everyone else does, they're very confident. They are like know-it-alls because they really know it all, okay?
Yeah.
They are fiercely protective. This is the person who will defend you whether you are in the room or not in the room.
Oh.
8s are,
We love that.
I love it. I
Yeah.
think because I'm intense too as a 1, that I like get the intensity. I like love it.
Yeah.
I'm like, I see you 8,
Yeah.
right? But they carry
yeah.
a lot of burdens. But they're gosh, they're so compassionate. They really, I mean, these people care about their people. So the challenger or the protector overall for 8 is like, 100%
I can
true.
see how those names kind of get a bad rap, right? If
Yeah.
they're perceived to be, like you said, like aggressive. Or,
Yeah.
But it's really out of, again, coming from a good place.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, and they're always the leader in the room. They are very strong. They are very confident. They, again, know everything. And so they tend to always be the leader. But then you know how sometimes you're just like, oh, you're always the leader.
Yeah.
Like, and they have that burden. Yeah, but they have that burden in like everywhere they work with their friends. They're always leading. They're always leading. They're always leading. And it's exhausting for them too.
Yeah.
Okay, so.
Are these the people that will always like talk about the rules of the board game?
I don't know. I think that tends to be more of a 1.
Oh, that's a 1?
Yeah, 1s tend to be more rule followers. I think 8s are fine to talk about the rules. If everybody's good with the rules, then we're good with the rules type of a thing. But if you're going to talk about the rules and then you're going to tell her person that they can't talk about the rules, that's not going to go over well. Like what's good for the goose is good for the gander, okay? Like, so I think it just kind of depends. That tends to be more of a 1. 1s are so... Gosh, we are so annoying. I got to tell you. If you're a 1 out there, I feel you, man. It's just like...
Yeah.
Woof. Anyway, back to our 8s. So our 8 wing 7. So again, this is the challenger who has a party people wing. Okay? So this is our protector vibe.
So they're good too. They would be like...
Yeah, very outgoing.
Yeah.
Very energetic. Their name is the nonconformist. Oh, see, I love that. No, we hate that. Okay. Okay. All of them, just so you guys know who are not watching, literally all of them scrunch their nose out. They're like, nope. But they're very blunt. They're quick thinkers. They're decisive. They can be a little bit more impulsive, which is good for an 8 because 7s tend to be, again, more spontaneous. So they're a little bit looser, but they are still very, like, direct. So we don't like the nonconformist, huh?
Not my favorite.
Okay. Well, ponder.
Okay, let's ponder. Yeah.
We'll come back. Okay. So then we've got the 8, Enneagram wing 9. Okay. So the 9, remember, is the peacemaker. So you've got this direct challenger, protector.
Oh, yeah. How's that going to work?
Wing 9. So these people tend to be a little bit quieter and they do tend to be more patient. Okay. Because they have that peacemaker vibe like sitting in them. They tend to be a little bit more of a gentle strength, like a little less intense. Because you can imagine if you've got a protector and then you add a party vibe, like we're like, okay, how like, oh, okay, this is a lot.
Jarring.
Yeah, it's a lot, right?
Yeah.
But the Enneagram 9, they tend to be a little bit more calm, a little more laid back. But being comfortable is important to them, which also goes hard against their challenger vibes. Because remember, an 8, just in general, they walk into a room and they're like, does anyone need protecting? I'll jump in front of that bullet. But they also want to keep the peace, so they don't want to make anybody upset, right?
What are they called? I'm dying to know.
I actually love this one, the diplomat.
Oh,
There we go. That's
right.
good. Very good.
Right?
That's good.
Government officials.
Sure.
This is what it should
Carrie
mean.
Russell.
The diplomat, right? It should mean protecting the people that you're there to represent, right? So yeah, the diplomat.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
Let's think of a name for the other
Yeah,
one.
the
Can you give us another? To describe that again?
Yeah. So again, the 8s in general are the challenger. They are the protector, but they have this wing 7 vibe, which is more of the looking for adventure, being enthusiastic, being more spontaneous, being more outgoing, a little bit more energetic. But they are still very blunt and direct. Quick thinkers, quick on their feet. Good at decision making.
Yeah.
But they can be a little bit more impulsive.
It's giving like Gandalf. No? Am I?
Do you like
crazy?
that? Yeah.
I looked up some words that are similar to this. One of them may be like the free thinker,
Okay.
or individualist, or
That's more-
protester.
That's 4. Ooh, the
Protester.
yeah, all of the other
the
ones. were
eccentric, deviant.
Eccentric.
Eccentric.
Maybe. Again, those are all very 4
Oh,
things.
yeah.
Yeah, very individualistic, very it's all very 4 vibes.
The Gandalf.
It's giving Gandalf because Gandalf's got that silly side where he loves to party.
Yeah.
But also like, hey, like
He's
we gotta
going to protect.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
You know.
I love that.
We got
I
our
think-
Samwise and our Gandalfs.
We're in a vibe today.
Yeah. Which one's the Gollum?
Oh, we're getting to it. We're getting to that.
Nah. Okay, I think we'll take it.
Yeah.
I think we'll take it.
Yeah.
I like
I
it.
think sometimes it does like connect to a character a little bit more. I mean,
Yeah.
sometimes it's a Jeep Pathfinder, but sometimes it's Gandalf or Samwise. Okay, so our last Enneagram type. We are finally to our Enneagram 9. So again, is the peacemaker or the mediator. These folks like things to be copacetic. They like things to be in harmony. They want everybody to be happy. They're very pleasant, tend to be very calm and nurturing, very laid back, very accommodating to other folks, right? Very conflict avoidant.
I'm guilty.
Yeah, they don't like to be disconnected from people. They like to be connected, but, you know, they don't want to rock the boat. Okay? So a 9 peacemaker so this is their core, right, is that peacemaker, but they've got that fierceness of an Enneagram 8 is called the negotiator. Okay? Because you think a 9 naturally...
Priceline negotiator.
You can think like every 9 has that negotiating in them.
Yeah.
They're really good at keeping the peace, but these folks are just a little bit more assertive about it. They're a little more comfortable
Oh
being
man, I wish I was more
assertive.
that.
Yeah.
I don't think that's me.
They're a little more opinionated,
Yeah.
right? They show a little bit more strength. Again, it's more of a gentle strength because they're trying to keep the peace. They want everybody to be comfortable if we're having conflict, but they are going to be like, okay, I hear what you're saying, but what if we looked at it from this perspective, right? Like they're willing to kind of go there with it. So, but always the desire is peace, right? That's the center of the 9. They want things to be good, but they tend to be a little bit more social, a little bit more protective of their people, a little bit more willing to speak up. So I think of this as like if someone's talking bad about Hannah, the 9 Enneagram 8 would be like, really, I don't know that I've experienced that with Hannah. They won't be like, you're wrong. They're not gonna they're not gonna fiercely, right? They're not gonna go in and be like, don't talk about Hannah like that. But they are gonna be like, really? I really haven't experienced that.
Okay.
Do you see what I'm saying? So they're willing to be a little bit more assertive, where just 9 energy is like, right? 9 Enneagram 8 energy is, I've never experienced that. So I'm going to correct.
Right.
But I'm going to let you know that that's not how I feel about it.
Yeah.
Silence
Sure,
is
sure.
agreement. So we're not going to do that.
Yeah.
But more willing to talk about it. Okay.
Okay.
So we're
I like
I
negotiator.
like negotiator.
yeah,
Okay.
for sure. And so our final one, we've made it. So our 9 Enneagram 1 is called the advisor.
Oh, maybe
Okay.
that doesn't sound right either. Keep going. Keep going.
Well, they tend to be a little bit more focused on what's right. They tend to be a little bit quieter, right, than the 8 wing, because they don't like to rock the boat. But they do tend to have a little bit more strong of a focus on what's fair and what is just, like what is the right way to handle this, right? So again, always trying to keep the peace, but they really do have opinions about the right way. They may not tell you that they feel that way, but they do tend to feel, they're inside, they tend to lean more towards, I think that there's a right way to handle this. I'm not necessarily going to speak up about it, but, and so these folks definitely like routine, definitely more structured, definitely more organized.
Oh gosh. Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe it is me.
Yeah.
You think so?
I do.
Okay.
I do.
I wish I was more the other way.
I know. I know.
All right.
I think we.
Tell me how you really feel.
Well, I know that you want that. I don't know that I want that for you. I love you just how you are. But
Right.
I
You don't
do.
need to change for no one.
I know. But I do think all of us are like, oh, I wish I was more.
Yes.
I wish I was more this.
Yeah.
Right?
Could you learn? Could that be, or can you, once you're there, you're just that's
Well, here's
it?
the thing. You are who you are at the core of your inside forever. The idea is that when you grow and become a healthier version of yourself, you will pull in healthier aspects from other numbers.
Love
yes.
that.
And again, that'll be our next episode. Is all
Yeah.
about where you go in stress and where you go in growth.
In health. Yeah. Okay.
I think maybe we could figure out another word for advisor.
Advisor.
Like the council, the judge,
Not the
the jury.
Not the judge. She's like the executioner. I'm like, not happening.
No.
No, you could be the advisor.
The advisor, or like, no, I like that. The council.
The council.
Yeah.
The fellowship. Just to bring it all together. The fellowship.
The fellowship. The wise one. Too much. I like the advisor. I don't mind the
we'll
advisor.
keep it.
Yeah.
It's yours, so.
It's mine. I hate that it's mine.
It's mine. But yeah, those
Thank
are
you
all
so
the different
much.
types.
That was really,
Interesting.
that was so insightful, truly.
Yeah.
No, I like
Um,
it because, like you were touching on in the beginning, it's like we're not just in this box of like I'm a 2
Yeah.
and that's it. Like no, I have
We're
these
multi-dimensional
other,
people,
yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
So it's cool to keep learning about
Yes.
it.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
we're scratching the surface here, folks. Like,
Yeah.
we're not getting as deep because you can imagine we talked about the triads in our last episode. So
Uh-huh.
each
Yeah.
one of these folks have a different relationship, especially when you're crossing a triad, right?
Mm.
So a 9, which with a wing 8, like it's like a head triad, or no, 8, 9, and 1 are the same. So if you're an 8 with a wing 7, you're crossing into a different triad. So you'll have a little bit of the different
Interesting.
relationships with,
okay.
you know, either anger or fear
Yeah.
or whatever. So
Wow.
it does get very complex.
Sure.
But we're just doing
And I think
right.
the takeaway is that people are complex beings, right?
100%.
You can't just like take a 3-dimensional person and just put it on paper and be like, this is you, right? It's
Yeah.
like you've got so many facets of your
Yeah.
character, your personality. So
Well, and that's what I love about the Enneagram is because they do really talk about all 9 are intertwined, right?
Mm.
Like we have our wings, we have where we go in stress, we have where we go in growth. Like we have a lot of things that overlap, and you'll see that in behavior. The main thing is at your core, you are who you are.
Mhm.
And you know what I mean? And I think that that's what makes it very different than other personality types that are just about the behavior.
Sure.
And Enneagram has that,
Yeah.
but it also talks about like what makes you actually do the things that
Right.
you do, what
Mm.
makes you do those behaviors. And that's
Yeah.
what I love about the Enneagram.
kind of the
Ah.
motivation behind
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I love because like each number has, you have, like you were saying, like the good and the bad,
Mhm.
which, so it's not just like the one thing, which I love because we're like, you have a good day, you have a bad day, and it's like what you do on the bad day doesn't necessarily mean that's how you are.
Sure.
Right?
Oh my
It's
gosh,
like that doesn't-
absolutely.
A bad day doesn't define you.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Thank you so much,
Thank you,
Heather.
Heather.
for-
Yeah, my pleasure. Thanks for having me
Woo!
back,
Oh my gosh,
everybody.
I can't wait for the next one.
I can't wait for episode
because
3.
I don't know where I knew my wing, but I don't know where I go in stress.
Yeah.
Or
I know.
healthy.
I'm nervous about
I'm
Knowing
nervous about that.
Yeah, I think it's very honest.
Yeah.
You know, because you're
Yes.
really talking about
Should we
like
bring tissues
when
next
I,
time?
like when I'm my best self, I pull
Yes.
these things, and when I'm really in the muck and in the thick of it,
Mhm.
I go here, and I do think it just, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's the real
Gets,
stuff.
Yeah.
gets thorny.
It's the real stuff.
And horny.
Depending on your type, I'm sure that's true.
That's the bell. Roomies, thank you so much for joining us for the sequel.
Mhm.
Enneagram 2. Enneagram.
Electric.
The 2 towers.
the 2
Enneagram. That's the title. Enneagram, the 2 towers. Thank you, Heather, for giving us so much wisdom.
My pleasure. Thanks
We
for
will
having
have
me.
you back for
Yeah.
the next one.
course,
Yes,
Yeah.
of course.
So look forward to that. Wow, I'm still processing.
I know.
so-
I know.
Yeah.
Final thoughts?
No, this was so fun. I love it. And thank you again.
Yeah, my
Yes,
pleasure.
thank
And
you so
good luck
much.
on your last 3 days.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
Again, friendly reminder from same as episode 1. I do workshops for different professional
Yes.
organizations. I can
Hire.
come and do this work with your, your family if you want, your
Yes.
coworkers.
Your, your presentation, you go a lot more in depth. When
Yes,
you're
and we
there.
have activities.
Right.
Of course, we're trying to fit this
Yeah,
in
Of
for
course,
a
of
quick
course.
pod
It's a whole-
episode. Yeah.
It's a whole thing.
program she offers.
It
so.
definitely
Wow.
is.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay,
keep
if you're
in
trying to fill a
mind.
conference room,
That's
you're trying to
right.
fill a venue,
Yep.
Heather's your gal.
That's
Yeah.
right. Happy to help.
All right, follow us at We Used to Live Together on Instagram and TikTok. Listen to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Give us the 5-star ratings. Subscribe to Patreon.
Yes.
These are our Patreon pals
Right
in the
here,
room, right
definitely.
here. So living examples here. Try to do it on the website to avoid that charge
Yeah.
on the App Store.
Mhm.
I think that's it
That's
for
it.
today.
That's all. That's all she
That's
wrote.
all
That's
she
all she
wrote.
wrote.
Thank you so much. Until next time, it's been real. It's been fun. It's been real fun.
Bye.